The wrong end of the NRL ladder. Gal, is it going to get worse before it gets any better for this Tigers outfit?
Yeah, I think so. Look, I just think that's the Tigers team. They've got a lot of young guys. They've got some really good, talented young fellas there, but you've got guys like Lockie Galvin, who's 18 or 19 years of age, been the best player on the field. I think that's a real issue for some of their senior players, just aren't turning up and putting their best foot forward and playing as good as they possibly should be. And on the money they're on, I think it's crazy. I don't think it's good enough for first graders. I mean, he's a kid. He's a kid who honestly shouldn't even be playing first grade. He should have come up, played 2 or 3 first grade games, gone back down, got confidence again, come back up again. Played maybe 10 games the entire season at the most. And he's their best player week in, week out, because some of these older senior players just aren't doing the job. And I just don't know where they're going to go. They've got to pay big money to get anyone to go there. They've got Jerome Luai going there next year, but I think the amount of money they had to pay him, that's another 1 or 2 players that they can't buy. And I think in a year or 2 time, it comes back to bite you in the backside. Jerome Luai deserves all the money he can get. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I just think it's going to be a tough time for the Tigers to get out of where they are at the moment.
If Benji calls you tonight, Gus, for some words of advice, what would it be?
Look, honestly, I wouldn't have any words of advice other than just hang in there. This is a long journey for the West Tigers, and this is one of the reasons why I think our club season is too long for teams like this. All right, this season's going to get very long for them. Unless they can come together as a group and find a reason as to why this last 8 weeks is really important and what their achievable goals are. It mightn't even be to win a game, but it might be just to have performance indicators in every game with their training and their attitude and do it day by day. It's very, very difficult for young players at the best of times, but when it gets to the back end of the season, you're out of running for the 8 and you haven't got there's nothing to hold on to for the senior players at the back end of the year, and some might be leaving and there might be others coming in your position the following year. The season gets very, very long for them, so you need to rethink what your goals are every week with your training and your playing and help them get through this mentally. There were some nice passages of their play the other night, but they just ran into a top 4 side who had a lot to play for in front of a home crowd. It was over early, and then it becomes an awful place to be when they're out there on the field. And to be honest, the Tigers were probably their own worst enemy in playing a brand of football that wasn't required under those circumstances. And I think Benji just needs to simplify everything for them, simplify their training and their goals each week when they go into the games, and just take a short-term approach to everything. But the season does get long for teams like this that are so young and they're in a rebuilding phase. It's very difficult.
Gus, what do you make of Stefanos' performance? Does he look like he's starting to get weighed down by it all? And there's this system fair on players that they're negotiating contracts at this point of the season?
Yeah, and he's probably never had to be through that in his career. I mean, it's a very, very difficult situation. There's a lot of publicity around him. There's a lot of people pulling at him from different directions of where he should be going or what he should be doing. He's 24 years of age. I think with Stefano, he just needs to simplify what his goals are in the next few years. He needs to be the best 27, 28-year-old footballer he can be, because that's when you're in your prime. You know, big money and big offers and promises and having all these people chase you and media talking about you all the time is not good for players, and some can handle it and some can't, and it's obviously affecting his performances at the moment. And he's playing in a team that's really struggling, so that's not helping either. So, you know, I feel very sorry for him, and I hope that his situation is sorted out sooner rather than later so he can just move on with his career. But he too needs to understand that, you know, everything he's hearing about this and all the money he's hearing about and all that is probably not in his best interests. He needs to focus on what his football needs to be the best 26, 27-year-old footballer he can be. When he gets to the prime of his career, at the back end of his 20s for a front rower, and assuming he's going to play till he's 34, 35 with sports science the way it is, he needs a 3-year rebuild himself to be the player that he wants to be, and he needs to put himself in a position that does that for him. And it may mean taking a step backwards to go forwards, but that's up to his management and the player to do that.